Joining us now is physician turned Congressman Michael Burgess, Republican from Texas. He is on the Energy and Commerce Committee and the author of the brand new book, Doctor in the House. Welcome back to Newsmax TV, Representative Burgess.
Well, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's been a year since President Obama's sweeping health care bill was signed into law. Republicans have attempted repeal and are working to defund, neither of which has been successful yet. Is undoing Obamacare proving to be tougher than the GOP first thought?
Well, I don't think there was any question that this was going to be a struggle, and oddly enough, the court challenge is farther along than I anticipated it would be a year ago. We're still easily 12 or 15 months away from a Supreme Court ruling on the constitutionality of Obamacare, but I'm very encouraged by what Judge Vinson decided down in Florida early in January, and I think that does portend well for the ultimate undoing of the law. What faces us now is the rapidity with which implementation is occurring, and that's really where we need to dig in and make certain that we do cut off the funding where we can to those parts of the law that are most egregious.
Now, in the end, you do see Republicans claiming victory then in defeat of the law?
Well, I think certainly the victory of last November 2nd was significant. There are those who will argue that you are going to have a change in the United States Senate and a change in the occupancy of the White House before this thing can actually be undone. That may well turn out to be correct, but that doesn't stop me from trying to do everything I can now to get this thing under control and, if possible, to begin to walk it back.
Do you think it will ultimately be repealed?
I don't think there's any question. It is designed. There's two visions of the future, and I do think the law as written is designed to fail. And part of perhaps the cynic in me would say that's on purpose, because ultimately their goal was a single-payer, national-run healthcare system, a so-called socialized medicine in this country. The other part of me says it is so bad that the people will at some point rise up and revolt and reclaim their sovereignty over their health care and over their lives.
Now, we talked about defunding. Representative Michelle Bachmann has found $100 billion of already approved spending hidden in the bill. She and Representative Steve King have voiced concerns about House leadership's commitment to defund the law. In your view, is leadership going soft on Obamacare?
That's what a difficult question. You know, this is something I have been really deeply involved in this for months. In fact, I was one of the first people to understand that, oh my God, even though we haven't done an appropriations bill in some 18 months, there was money made available in the bill for its implementation. So Michelle's correct when she talks about post-dated checks that were already written. In fact, some of those checks have already been cashed and the money has been spent. Obviously, we cannot get that back. There are other places where there have been raids placed on the the Medicare Trust Fund, the Hospital Trust Fund. Those monies are a little more difficult to take back, but it can be done. And here's the key, and what I have discussed with the Speaker and the Majority Leader over the past several days is we've got to at least make a down payment on defunding Obamacare. And why we didn't do that last Tuesday, I don't know. But when I speak to them, it is along the lines we have to dig out these specific programs and cut off their funding. We can do that. That is within certainly the rules of the House. It's within our constitutional right to do as members of the House of Representatives. I don't know if prior to last week if that work was clear enough to our leadership, but obviously Michelle and Steve King are taking one tack. I'm taking another, but I think we're all working toward the same goal, which is we've got to put the brakes on the implementation on this thing, because it is, for a federal agency, HHS is moving at warp speed on this stuff.
In your view, though, should leadership be taking a tougher approach?
Well, they've got many things to be concerned about. The point I have made to them is that, you know, you've got to start somewhere, and you've got to start with one program and defunding it, and then let's move on to the next one. I do think that message has been received.
Now, the Obama administration has approved more than 700 waiver applications for major companies. Does issuing this many waivers indicate that the administration knows there are a lot of flaws in the law?
The law is, as I alluded to earlier, is unworkable. And the fact that I think there's now over 1,000 waivers, whole states have been given waivers. Certainly unions that were clamoring for the passage of this thing have asked for and received waivers. So the waiver activity, speaks for the poor construction and the poor drafting and the poor implementation of this law so far. But here's the other part of that deal. These waivers are for a year's time. What's going to happen in October, November, December of this year when those waivers start to expire? Pretty clearly they'll have to be extended. And then what is the long-term strategy if you're having to provide long-term waivers for people so they won't be affected by this thing? What in the world is the long-term strategy? What is the plan B when this thing doesn't work? And it's clearly not going to work.
Now, we were talking about the state's lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of Obamacare earlier, now on track, headed for the Supreme Court. Considering that Justice Elena Kagan was President Obama's Solicitor General, in your view, should she recuse herself?
Well, I don't think there's any question that she should. Whether she will or not, obviously, is to be determined. But right, there's a clear conflict of interest because she was a Solicitor General as this bill was pushed by the White House last year and signed into law by the President.
All right. Again, the book is called Doctor in the House. It's a fantastic read. Representative Michael Burgess, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.